Hello friends, I'm Dr. Priya and I am going to teach you basics of qualitative research in this video. By the end of this series of videos, you will be able to identify the characteristics of qualitative data, formulate research questions for your qualitative research study, develop a robust qualitative research design, and apply the criteria of validity to find out the replicability and the reliability of your results so that your results meet the requirements of a rigorous qualitative research study. Let us now define qualitative research. It is a process of naturalistic inquiry that helps to make sense of or to interpret social phenomena in terms of the meanings people bring to them. Very rightly said by Tenzing and Lincoln 2005, because qualitative research is done in natural settings, it helps to observe and gain insight into the attitudes, beliefs, experiences, perceptions of individuals who are studied and investigated by the researcher. It therefore focuses on the why, the reason why, rather than the what of social phenomena, and therefore it tries to gain insight into the lived experiences of human beings. Therefore, the aim here is clearly to discover and analyze the motives of human beings. Qualitative research is therefore inductive in nature. Inductive because it is based on experiences, opinions, attitudes, motives. It is not based on any facts. It is not based on any predetermined premise. It explores, gains insights, in-depth knowledge to a given situation or event. It is based on purposive sampling which is non-random. Sample units are chosen and they must possess all the attributes of the population which you have to investigate to find out possible answers to your research questions. The questions, if used, are mostly unstructured or semi-structured, having open-ended questions, because the responses provided by the participants will finally decide the direction of the theory which is to be built on the basis of the analysis of the responses gathered, information gathered from the participants. Therefore, qualitative research is a snapshot of people's perceptions in their natural social environment. Therefore, the qualitative research will help to build new theories and will be therefore less structured in description. It focuses on words, text, images, pictures rather than statistics or numbers. It tries to interpret situations and understand meanings of these situations and events as they occur in their national settings. It finds, provides a detailed understanding into human beings' behavior, emotion, attitude, and experiences. Now let us understand the basic differences between qualitative research and quantitative research. The qualitative research has a very clear purpose. The purpose is to gain insight, in-depth knowledge. It is describing a situation or an event or the experiences of individuals. Whereas in the case of quantitative research, it is to test the cause and effect relationship between X and Y, for example, or to measure the extent of that relationship or association. Statistical tools of correlation, regression, higher order statistical tools may further be used. The approach in qualitative research is subjective, inductive, bottom to top, specific to generic, a holistic view, whereas in the case of quantitative research, it is objective based on facts, based on logical reasoning, and deductive, moving from top to bottom, from generic to more specific, drawing specific conclusions as a result of the study. The hypothesis in the case of qualitative research is not there in the beginning. Propositions are set in the beginning after defining the research questions. They are tentative, evolving, emerging based on the study. We come to the new theories which are built as a result of the analysis done of the data collected in qualitative research, which may finally lead us to building of hypotheses formulated on the basis of the new theories which are formulated, and they can be further tested by using quantitative research techniques. But in the case of quantitative research, the hypothesis is very specific. They are laid down at the beginning and they are framed as null and alternate hypotheses, and they are to be tested. Sampling in the case of qualitative research is non-random, whereas in the case of quantitative research it is random. The sample unit is representative of the population. In case of qualitative research, the sample size is small, unstructured, whereas in the case of quantitative research, the sample size is large and mostly structured. The data is in the form of text, pictures, images in the case of qualitative research, but in the case of quantitative research, it is mostly in the form of numbers. In fact, it is in the form of ratio interval scales. The analysis of data in case of qualitative research will help us to draw out patterns and themes, helping us to build our concepts, modify them, interpret them, and then finally integrate them into new theories. Whereas in the case of quantitative research, we test hypotheses and as a result draw conclusions. We are finally accepting or rejecting a null hypothesis. Therefore, friends, qualitative research will explain why does the relationship or the connection exists between the variables which are the focus of study of quantitative research. They will help to reveal the influences, the factors that affect the action outcomes which are the subject matter of study for quantitative research. Quantitative researchers investigate meanings, interpretations of the social processes and social relations. It collects data which is descriptive in nature, which has to be made more meaningful by transcribing, coding, indexing, labeling, putting them into broader themes, analyzing the patterns, finally to build theories. The focus here is people's experiences, and therefore theories built by qualitative research can further be tested using statistical techniques or quantitative research tools. Now the question arises, when should you choose a qualitative research design? Friends, if these conditions are there, you must go in for qualitative research approach. When little is known or present understanding is inadequate of any event, you should go for qualitative research approach. When there is a complex situations or a social process and you want to gain insight, and understanding, a deeper understanding of that situation, you must adopt qualitative research approach. When you want to learn from participants about their shared experiences, about their motives, beliefs, attitudes, practices, cultural practices, then you must go in for qualitative research. Because these cannot be converted into numbers. When you want to build a new theory from the data set collected, from information, from insights, gained from investigation, interviews, observation, you must go in for qualitative research approach. Or when you want to understand a phenomena more in detail, more deeply, you must go in for qualitative research approach. Now, once you have decided To go in for a qualitative research approach for your study, the first step is to define the research problem as precisely, as closely as possible. Because if the problem is defined well, then you can frame your research questions very clearly. The focus has to be decided of your research study. So first define your research problem. It could be social distancing, it could be movement of migrant workers from cities to villages, it could be the impact of online education on college students, it could be other problems, research problems, which you are for which you want to do qualitative research study and find answers to the research questions. Next is to frame your research questions. Use active verbs. Bloom's taxonomy should come to your help here. Verbs like to characterize, to explore, to define, to explain, to understand, to evaluate must be used. The questions must be framed in non-directional language, unidirectional language. No affirmative, no negative words to be used, because you never know what information, what insights you're going to gain from the information rich cases which you are going to investigate. You have to define the sample unit. Next, the sample unit must have all the attributes of the population which you have to study to find answers to your research questions. The setting, national setting, has to be also chosen very precisely. Whether it has to be a face-to-face conversation, observation, interview, focus group, or it has to be retrieval of documents, retrieval of audio or video tapes. Now, these are two sample research questions from journals. The first one, if you see, friends, it is to understand journals, editors, and publishers' views. Second is to describe and classify the components. The third is if we are going to study the impact of the adoption of online education, or we want to know what is the effect of the adoption of online education and what are the factors that have influenced, then we may frame our research question like this: to understand the knowledge, attitudes, preferences, and barriers for the adoption of online education by college students. Now, the next step is to define the research design for a study. As I said, friends, it is a bottom-top approach. It is inductive approach. So we have first defined the focus of our research. We have defined the research problem. We have formulated research questions using active verbs which are taken from Bloom's taxonomy. We have determined very precisely and clearly the sample unit for our data analysis, for our data collection, and we have also set the national setting in which we are going to investigate and gain insights. Next is to determine in which form do we want to capture the data. Is it in words? It could be blogs, tweets, interviews, field notes, or in the form of images, videos, photos. Once this is determined, we must next now decide the sampling strategy. Whether it has to be observation with or without participation of the investigator, an interview, semi-structured, unstructured, recorded, face-to-face, whether it has to be focus group discussion, whether it has to be document retrieval or retrieval of recorded tapes and audios, audio tapes and videotapes for investigation. And next, once the data is collected, we have to plan a data analysis so that we are able to find out the patterns of association between the codes, the themes, and draw out concepts which, when modified and integrated, will help us to build theories. For data analysis, we can use tools and softwares such as NVivo, which is very popular among corporates and researchers today. We can use tools of content analysis, thematic analysis, textual analysis, sentiment analysis, so that we are able to do the analysis part with the help of computers also, if not manually. Friends, in this video, I have explained to you how to design your research questions based on the research problem and how to determine your sample units. And in the next video, I will be taking the next 3 steps of qualitative research. Thank you for viewing. Stay tuned